Oh, started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to LIBERcast for another episode. Fantastic episode is coming about shadow work. I wanted to bring that so bad in on the podcast, and I wanted to have someone with experience about it. So I'm having Caroline Reilly. Thank you for being there, Caroline. And it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be an awesome conversation. So we're I'm just gonna put it up in the air like that. Um, I'm searching people with certain knowledge. So if people are interested in sharing knowledge about dieting or spirituality or philosophy or things like that, just send me a message and we're gonna talk about it. And it's all for the greater for the great work for showing light to people and show them knowledge. They have the choice to take it or not, but we're gonna show them anyway. So that's it. So just want to ask Caroline to introduce herself a little bit, just so we can know and what brought you to the shadow work and this work.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Fred. So I don't know how to introduce myself. I've been doing shadow work since 2014 when I did a course in Carl psychology with art therapy. It was down in Clonmel in Ireland when I used to live over there, and it changed my life completely, and I wanted to share with everyone else.
And it's the thing is, when it comes to shadow work, it's a very intimate, personal experience. Uh, there's like sensible, common things that bring up, but mostly it's a very intimate things. And shadow work for me, I would say that the thing we're seeing there, this quote by Mr. Young, it's pretty much it. There's no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but making darkness conscious. And I think it's a beautiful quote to express what shadow work is. It's introspective work. It's digging into your traumas and bring them up. And I just want to bring up before I'm letting Caroline share. um, the shadow work is a deconstructive work. It's, yes, you're generating, but you have to deconstruct first. It is painful, it's hard, but it's worth all the efforts you're putting in it.
No,
Seriously.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it is a deconstructive process. It's a process that is very intimate and very difficult. And I think that it usually comes from a place of there has to be the will to want to change. There has to be something. It's like almost like a bolt of lightning. A lot of people have said, and I said it before, that I wanted to know the truth. And it was that will to want to know the truth of myself, the truth of the world that I live in, that made me want to heal myself. And something happened to me on the 21st of December 2012. And I know that this was like a big day. Everyone was sort of waiting for the end of the world or something amazing to happen. But for me, something quite horrible happened. And it made me, that night I said to myself, I'm going to heal myself. I said, I was adamant. I had known for possibly the last maybe 10 years beforehand that I needed to do something to help myself feel better, to understand why I had sort of, I kind of lived small for quite a long time. And what I know now is that I had sort of designed myself a life that meant that I didn't have to go outside my comfort zone, that was very insular and very safe, and very it just wasn't good for me. So really that night, I said I'm going to heal myself. So the next couple of years I started doing sort of I started doing Reiki, and I looked into lots of sort of New Age, and I think that New Age can actually lead you to authentic self-healing, only if you've got the brains to realize that it doesn't actually work. New Age doesn't work. There's all this sort of creative visualization and manifestation, and if you keep your thoughts positive, everything's going to be okay. But actually, it's not really like that. You can try it. Some visualization is useful, but I think it's too up there with the fairies. It's not realistic. And so with that, I kind of I heard about Carl Jung through Michael Tessarian. He mentioned him, and so I found this course, and the course helped me to get back into my art and to start self-reflecting. And it was through that I started to realize that I was different to who I thought I was, and I came to the truth of who I am. But like you said, it is deconstructive and painful, and it is.
Well, I'm going to share a little bit of what I went through. Shadow work has been very progressive for me. I've been into a spiritual crisis at a moment of my life, and I got like really, it has been really hard for me, because the way it happened, life have other ways to show you things.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't see, one of those days life will make you see. It's up to you. It's up to you to take it or not. And I had this incredible discovery about the great work and spirituality and the occult and all these things and all this stuff. The fact that I changed my diet has been a great factor into it too. And I think it's a major part of the shadow work. I think it is, because everything is connected together. Everything. So, well, it has been a painful realization when you see the deceptions, and you see the lies. The lies about your life, about your environment and society. It punched me really hard. That's where it begins. The shadow work. I wanted to be better. I wanted to stop suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I knew my pain was emotional and psychological in nature. So I not amount of exercise would change that. So I really started, and when I got into like Caroline just said, Michael Tessarian's work, the New Age guy David Icke has like opened few doors for me, and then I stumbled upon the great work from Mark Passio, and from there I went into the rabbit hole of the consciousness and the truth discovering, and we are at what we are now because of that. And it I think it's like 10 years ago now. Incredible.
Yeah, same for me. And I'd also add to that list as well, Jordan Maxwell.
Yes.
Jordan Maxwell was a big one, and also Santos Bonacci, also with his astrotheology, his work. I know that he's gone a bit sort of flat Earth now, but his work on astrotheology was very, very valuable to me. And there's also a book I found. I think I remember in my mum's house, and it was a book about astrology and the body, and it kind of sort of brought the stars to the body for me, and that was probably one of the first times, because as I said to you before. I think before 10 years ago, I was very sort of run of the mill. I was very normalized. not interested in truth, not really interested in very much, to be fair. Like, I didn't really think very much, and it was a whole process for me to start to learn how to and I could read, but to read and to take it in and to understand it and to try and to want to, that want was not, was not something that I had to consciously do. That want came from within. As I said, on the 21st of December 2012, for me, some magic did happen. Because there was a will, to want to change, to want to heal. And without that will to want to change and heal, nothing else can happen. So from there, I started looking into, I guess, what you may want to call conspiracy, I guess what you may want to call truth. Lots of different subjects started to really interest me. And I just had this thirst for knowledge. So, as I said before, shadow work is not only just about the introspection and finding out about who we are as individuals. It's also about finding out about what we think the world really is, and to look at our social and cultural conditioning and to see how that has affected us and how we think and how we interact in the world. We get to a point where we can sort of almost redesign ourselves, and I guess master our reactions, and master ourselves. And so this is really where we want to get to. And I guess this is what Carl Jung described as individuation or selfhood. For me, like this idea of, I guess, freedom. So sometimes I kind of feel like, the real freedom for me is this idea that you don't have to pay any bills, you don't have to pay any taxes, you don't have to, you are your own person, you have your own land, but at the moment it feels like this world, I don't know if there's anywhere that you can really experience that level of freedom. We are still kind of swimming in the soup of this sort of society.
Sure.
And to a certain extent we have to sort of, be part of it and find a way. What I will say as well is, on my group, there are a lot of people who are interested in the truth movement and just truth in general, really. And they have struggled more than most people, I think, in terms of shadow work, because I think that this idea of freedom, the truth of freedom, like I've just described, to not be sort of indebted to anyone, to never have to explain yourself away. That's what they want, but they know that they may never get to that point of really being, not having to pay bills and things like this. So, and also they struggle because they can see the world. They have a perception that most people don't see, that their families don't see. And that's really, really tough for them. And some people also become a bit what's the word? They become a bit, I don't know, they're angry and a bit unstable. That they can become a bit unstable, and I can understand it. Because they become unstable doesn't mean that they can't get back to finding a way to live in the world. But it can be very, very difficult for people who are interested in truth and justice to be here, to live within this environment. But I do think that to work on yourselves and to find a way. The other thing is to almost to keep a sense of humor, and it's something very simple, but I think to keep a sense of humor, because ultimately we're only here for a very short time. Our lives are very short, and to find our purpose and to I don't know. I think to find humor and to be realistic about ourselves and not take it too hard. I think could be quite a useful tip.
Yeah. Well, you pretty well explained it, because I think most of this part is shadow work. For me is well, I associate most of the time I associate it with the great work, but it covers all the spheres of your life. So for myself, I'm just gonna talk about for myself. So I usually not I'm a stoic person. I can decide when I switch off and on my emotions. So it's a really good tool when you're into information and truth seeking and things like that. It's really important to stay objective in what you're in what you're even in the meta. We have to stay objective. And is it useful to have these knowledge or not in your life? No, it's it. And I told that there's a personal it's a personal path of healing. So when you're treating yourself as a being, you're treating the world around you too. That's the principle of correspondence. So when I'm telling that there's no separation between people and us, it's because we're like intimately connected into energy, vibration, magnetisms, and things like that. So we have a lot of where, like Michael Tessarian says, we are in a pool, in a plasma of the energy of other people, and their behaviors and their being will emanate the what it's contained into the people minds, and the people heart. So you encounter these people in your life, and you're taking in this stuff too. So it's the emotion, and it's all about balance and control mostly.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
So it's for me, the great work for myself, the shadow work for myself, I do it for my children too, and I do it for my neighbor.
Yeah, that's it. And I think the more people that do it, I think I think that the whole point is that we have a society of people who are who don't have a connection to themselves, and this is part of the problem. This is why we have so many people who will just accept what they're told, even if it's lies, and even if they're questioning, they will generally kind of say yes and do what they're told, because first of all, because they've been taught to do that from a very early age through parenting, through school, and then through the jobs they have. So that there's always like a kind of a slave master dynamics, and we're taught that from a very, very young age. Where I've worked in schools, and I've worked in lots of different children's centres and places, in sort of play settings, and they talk a lot about individuality and sort of promoting the child's individual needs. It's just lip service. That they don't have the capacity really to help each child develop their individuality anyway. So what they do, they have to become part of the collective. And they also have this thing in classrooms where it's like, well, if little Johnny did so and so, then the whole class is going to they're all going to be punished, let's just say. And so there's this collectivism is happening at such a young age that it continues on. And then the other thing is, I guess, when people don't have connection to themselves, it's very hard for them to decipher what is truth and what is lies. And so when they're presented with lots of information, if it seems to come from someone who has got a suit on and who is perhaps well established or whatever, has got a good reputation in brackets, then they're likely to believe it. And so, as I said, a big part of shadow work is to develop that moral compass, and that can only come from a connection to self and to the to how you feel. How if something feels right or wrong, and this is something that a lot of parents don't teach their children about, how to sort of tap into the body to decipher if they can feel if someone's lying or if it's the truth. The other thing is that in schools they have a lot of people that work in schools, I think, don't really like children, and I think kids can pick up on that. They know, they can feel it, and so, you know, if they can feel it, but they have to also deny it. And so so kids are taught at a very young age, we all were, that to deny their own feeling, their own intuition. And so we develop into adults who suddenly find ourselves on our arse, you know, like we find that we've had a midlife crisis or an existential crisis or a spiritual crisis or something. And this is actually a good thing, because this means that you have at least recognized that there are so many things wrong, and that you need to start going for a process of looking at it. As I said before, for myself, I started off with the new age, new cage. And so, you know, if you're lucky enough, you'll find something like shadow work, or, you know, like we talk about shadow work, it's a lovely kind of heading, but really it's something that anyone can do for themselves. You know, it's a matter of introspection, self-reflection, but it's also, you also have to be creative with it. And I think that this is another thing. I'm actually trained in play work. I don't know, this doesn't really exist in a lot of other countries. So I learned about play and how play sort of children learn through play, and how adults should facilitate play and allow the child to lead. So there's this kind of thing about play. So play was my first love, and but adults forget how to play. They don't know that, you know, where they get cut off from their ability to play. Yep. And so another part of shadow work is the self-reflection, the looking within, and the remembering and recalling and looking at your memories and going back into the feeling of it. But then it's also about how do I play with this? How do I create from this? How do I express this? And it can be a safe place to scream, if such a place exists. I think we all need that. It can be, you know, art making, which was my way of expressing myself. It can be music making. It can be through movement. It can dance, or some way of, so, you know, something with intention. It can even be through exercise. But if the intention is there to say, do you know what, I'm really pissed off about this, happened to me when I was 5, and I haven't quite dealt with this emotion, and I'm going to try and relive it and rethink it, and I'm going to go for a run, and and that run is going to be about me trying to, you know, get rid of that feeling that I have in my stomach, that I've been able to kind of decipher where it is. So in that way, it's the intention and it's the expression which is going to help. And the other thing is to cry. I don't know about you, but I find it very hard to cry. And so trying to learn how to, I mean, not everyone does. Some people, they'll cry at, you know, anything, but to try and get back into your emotions and to allow yourself to cry, and to really value that as well, to value that experience. Shadow work takes being on your own. You need to be on your own to do this kind of stuff. Nature is very, very helpful, because by being in nature, you get back to your own nature. By sitting and observing all these things, you know, a lot of people who, I guess, work 40 hours a week, they don't have the time to do this kind of stuff. You know, they're too busy getting on the train for 2 hours a day and working and not having any time. So what I found also with a lot of people, and myself included, is that once you do this kind of work and you realize your own sort of, I don't know, humanity, divinity, you want to change your life. You realize that the value of your time, and hopefully most people can change the way that they work. They might start working part-time, or they might kind of change the way that they do things. So it's very useful, and it is life enhancing, life changing. So yeah, I can't promote it enough, to be fair.
You did a great work, great work doing that. I know you because of I knew you because of Facebook, your Facebook page, and this page is one of my, it's awesome. There's awesome stuff there. I'm always learning something useful for myself. You know, it's incredible. Only these memes were like this one there. Sometimes it opens the door, you know, and and I just want to bring you were talking about the children and how it affects them to have narcissistic or controlling cold parents. The children will take it on himself. Okay, so see if their parents or their behaviors are like evil or bad, they will blame themselves for it. That's what that's what makes it so dangerous and so devastating for the psyche of the children.
Well, there is one quote, I don't remember who it's by, but it says something like, if a parent shows a child that they don't love them, the child doesn't stop loving the parent, the child stops loving themselves.
Yes.
And I don't know who said that, but I remember putting it on a few times on my group, because for some people, for me, when I first read it, I was like, oh my God, okay, I understand this now. And it is quite a revelation. The funny thing is with the group, because I've had the group since sort of mid 2019, there are a lot of posts that I have to keep on reposting because we have new people constantly. And so that the people that started in 2019, they may have seen the same thing over and over again. But I just think it's useful just to kind of remind people. And for the newcomers, sometimes it can be a huge revelation. I'm really happy actually with the group. And I've also got a page for that to try and sort of promote anything that and try and get new people on. To be honest, I think actually with my group, I think it's been shadow banned, to be honest, because there are other shadow work groups that have got like 20,000 people, and they started quite recently compared to mine that has like 2,000. So perhaps I may be shooting myself in the foot by constantly talking about, sharing posts that are also quite, I guess, controversial, or at least kind of show sort of the truth of it on my own profile. But yeah, I'm very happy with the group so far, and I know it really does help a lot of people, and it's really, I mean, because I studied Carl Jung's work, it's really kind of based on that, and also I do read a lot of books, especially the ones that are on Michael Tessarien's list, like Arno Gruen and Alexander Lau, and and I've just started an Alice Miller, which was absolutely, I mean, I read the second page, and the second page, it's like, my goodness, and I was already kind of typing out some of one of her pages for the group a couple of days ago, because it was just like suddenly, it's just there, it's just truth, it's just relatable, and not everyone is not everyone knows about these authors, so
yeah. Well, I stumble upon I got more into psychology when I stumbled upon Michael's work. I was already into it. I was really interested into it, but when I heard about his psychic vampirism presentation, it has been a revelation for me as a human being, as a children, as I'm a parent too, so it's incredible work that every people should be aware of being conscious of it. I mean, it's so mind-blowing, and so I could relate so much to it. It's the parental relation, when I grew up, I had like behaviors that were strange. I had self-loathing issues and depression and things like that, because I connected the dot like a year or two ago, and it has been a painful month, and I really took weight out of my shoulders at this time, and that's the benefits of shadow work. It's not only about pain and suffering. It's liberation.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is what you have. That's the end goal. It is liberation. It is understanding where shadow work is all about understanding our own thoughts, perceptions, our behavior, our responses, our life experiences, why our relationships are in a mess. It's about understanding all of those things about ourselves, and you can only do that through the self-reflection and the expression that I just sort of spoke about. But you're right. I mean, the parents' effects on children are so huge, and sometimes you can have the most well-meaning parents that just want to wrap their children up in cotton wool and don't allow them the autonomy and individuality. They don't allow them to develop those things. Instead, from their own unconscious desire to be needed, they will make their child dependent upon them. And so these children end up being adults who are constantly dependent on their parents. And they don't realize it, and they might find that their life is quite sort of limited. I experienced some of that. I have in my own life. I have experienced some of that, for not not sort of meaning to in a very well-meaning way, but ultimately, I have experienced that. So I know where that comes from. But it's about finding out about it. Once you know about it, you're in a better position. You're in a better position to cut apron strings and say, actually, no, I need to develop this. And a lot of what shadow work is, a lot of where you make progress in shadow work is where you conquer your fears. And you say, hang on, what is it that I'm scared of doing? And you do just that. And so that is really very, very important. And also, the other thing I was going to say, but we've said before, is that shadow work kind of the progress that we make for the benefit of liberation is within our interactions with people. It's in our reactions, and in us recognizing where we shoot ourselves in the foot, where we do things wrong, how we can make things better, and then doing that, because changing our behavior and our reactions is really what it's all about. But you can only do that once you become conscious of the way that you're behaving.
Yes. And I'm bringing this the tree of all evil, the inverted tree, and we have here, you can see that the parental abandonment issues at the root of it.
All right. Okay.
So I think this one is, it's pretty general. Okay, there's a lot of detail put aside on this, but it still is the ladder to evil, I think. You know what I mean. And I'm not talking about evil into the macrocosm. I think evil against oneself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the parental abandonment issues there, and you have it's not always about food and like fundamental needs. It's about emotional needs, psychological needs, spiritual needs that you don't have when you're children.
Well, yeah, I mean, Michael Tsarin also says that we live in an anti-psychological age as well,
Yes.
which, and if you think about it, I mean, especially for maybe my generation, your generation, our parents were probably not as well versed in psychology as maybe you and I are, and I think probably there's a lot of people out there, most people possibly who are not interested in it, so that they don't recognize the damage that they can do. That like the parents are like gods to the children, and if they don't recognize that, if they don't recognize how they can affect their child negatively, even if they don't mean to.
Yes.
But then they also need to care as well. Some parents, they don't. But I think, yeah. But if we have well-meaning parents, then it's everyone's. I think we should, we all should be obliged, I think, to understand who we are. And Carl Jung does say something about that. I sort of put a quote one of my pieces of work yesterday, which said that the great danger in the world is man himself, and we know nothing of our psychology, and this is the problem, that we don't understand. I'll tell you who does understand. The people that do understand are the advertisers, the media. They understand our psychology a lot better than we do, and they use it to manipulate us and to make us buy shit that we don't need, and to form opinions that are not our own. And so if you're disconnected from yourself, as I was, as many people are, then you are subject to manipulation, basically. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I cut the sound because of my my three little stars on the background. So yes, what I was saying. Oh my God, I lost my
Sorry.
no. So yes, and the responsibility of having children, and I think I'm gonna do an whole podcast about this. You know, the tree I put there, the fear of owning the responsibilities there. That's one big there.
Absolutely, yeah.
As a human being, okay, yeah, go on.
I think that parents, I think, have got a huge role to play in that. I mean, if they don't teach children responsibility for themselves at a young age, then how can we expect them to become adults who are autonomous? Yeah, you're right. I think that a podcast could be done just on parenting and that responsibility. But it's a message that not everyone wants to hear. And especially now, I think with parenting, a lot of parents feel like they need to entertain their child constantly. That they don't want them to walk to school in the pissing rain. That they do tend to sort of not allow them to experience any kind of disappointments in life. And I think that those are just as important. And also boredom. Boredom is good, because boredom encourages children to start thinking for themselves and to be creative and those kinds of things. There are lots of ways in which we can help our children.
Yes.
As I said before, I've worked with children for many years, 20 years now. And one thing that I used to do when I used to do these kind of summer camps with children, I used to have 60 children a day, and I used to get new staff teams each year. And I would always say one of the most important things is with the children is to be kind. And I don't think that enough is given to the idea of kindness, just to show kindness and to show respect to children. And I don't think that that's done enough. It was definitely done in my setting, but I've worked in many others where the other managers haven't gone by that at all.
Well, we're for myself here. Okay, I didn't have any. I know how to. I know respect and compassion and all these things. So that I know I can teach it to children, but I'm not. I cannot give them experience, like you so beautifully said. You cannot give them experience. They have to experience that for themselves. So deceptions and anger and sadness, they are all necessary. So it's not easy. There's no book on how to raise children. We all have our own backgrounds. So when I'm telling you that I didn't have like the basic there, I needed to go to the basic myself before having children, and that's what the shadow work did for me. And these children are they so much depend on their parents, on their approval, in their care. And it's incredible. They are like they're the most victimized people. They're the most mistreated people in the world. People are abusing the children every day. It's incredible, and it states the mindset of the world we're living in. The tolerance, tolerating the violence against children and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I think it's a self-loathing issues there.
There is. I mean, one thing that I realised, I guess, a bit sort of later on than maybe I could have done, is the importance also of I say discipline. Discipline sounds like the wrong word, but consequences for actions, because this is something that we all, this is a reality of the way that we live. And I'm a very sort of easygoing parent, I think. I've got a terrible memory, and I know that my daughter she does tend to take advantage sometimes of my memory. But the thing is that there has to be some rules as well. There does have to be some rules, especially. I mean, I get this, and I learned this mostly from the work of Manly P. Hall, because he talks a lot about integrity and morality. And this is something that I probably should have mentioned before in shadow work, but this is something definitely that we should be teaching our children about what is right and wrong, and what feels right and wrong for them. But I do also think that there needs to be the balance of allowing children independence and discipline, independence and autonomy and individuality for who they are, not who we want them to be. Even if it doesn't really fit into who we want to be or who we want them to be. And then also there needs to be consequences for actions, and also they need to learn how to, I think, need to know how life really is, as an adult, and to be very, very honest. And I think children really appreciate that kind of honesty. Well, one thing that I found quite difficult in parenting is like sort of like pop culture. Because in a way, it's like the culture is all around us. I grew up in, I guess, pop culture when I was a teenager, and it's something that I really enjoyed. And to deny a child that as well, I think is possibly too much, because this is the world that we live in. But I think to always allow them to be critical thinkers from a very young age. Yes. And say, well, look, this is what's happening in the world. I don't agree with this, and these are the reasons why. And then, to allow them to form their own opinions. I've been very, very lucky that my daughter, she sees things very, very similarly to myself. And I know that there are lots of parents who maybe share the same kind of viewpoint as me, but their children have been sucked into the culture, completely. And so that there is that balance. It's like, well, this is the world we live in, but at the same time, I want you to think for yourself. So it's just about teaching those things at home. But yeah, discipline also, I think, is important. They need to understand that there are consequences to their actions, and there is, to do things right and wrong, and to feel that, and to know what that is, and to, integrity and morality is really important.
Yes. Oh yes, we have to. Okay. So children, they're like. They're pure experience. They are not experience. I don't want to misword this. they're full of knowledge without knowing it.
Yeah.
And they are impressive human beings. The children. I'm not kidding. The children understand perfectly what you're saying, then without understanding the words you're saying. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Mm-hmm. The children. They are pure, and adult would learn so much from the children.
Absolutely. And I mean, I worked in a school up until about a year and a half ago. I was working in a school, and I was watching these groups, and I knew all the kids there. And whenever I see, especially if I see like boisterous boys that won't take that, there was a couple of boys there that I could see they could tell who were the really weak adults. And they were boisterous, and they were the dominant ones, and they wouldn't take any shit, and they would have the staff running around all over them. and they would really kind of rule the roost. And I was thinking, my goodness, and the other staff were really kind of quite negative towards them. They'd say they're naughty. But for me, I saw that as that's a fighting spirit. For me, that's someone who is a potential leader. If he's given the right sort of the right person to help him to develop that integrity and morality and discipline and all that kind of stuff, then that could have been something really positive. The other thing is that in schools, what I find is that generally the men that work in schools quite feminized. That's been my experience, that they're quite feminized, and so that the boys, they miss out on having that kind of quite masculine presence in schools, and I think that is missing. I mean, just generally in homes as well, that can happen quite a lot in homes. And some boys, they've got so much fire in their belly, they need that strong, dominant and good masculine energy and person to guide them.
Oh yeah, we need this. It's anima, I think, if I can remember, the anima side of consciousness. Well, I'm using symbolism to represent this. I think I did that on one of my posters. The triangle upward is action, masculine and archetypal, like symbolism that people are understanding it unconsciously when they're seeing it. And we don't have the time to get into Jung, but its body of work is incredible stuff there. The recess of psyche and behaviors, and when you got the relation between the parents and it's pretty interesting, the parents the parent responsibility and the psychological aspect of it means that I just want to say that when you're confronted to children, it's like fighting against the self. It's like fighting against yourself, because they are your projection, they are your mirror. So I have 3 little girls, and these 3 little girls, they talk like us. They're sponges. Like, so if you give them care and love and attention and they everything they need, they will behave like they will behave how you treat them, basically. So if you're stressed, anguish, you have like a depression, your children will feel it, and they will like sponge it, this energy, even if you don't want to, even if they will do it. So it's a symbiosis until they're getting into like the later stage at is it 5 years old is like the detachment, I think, or 3. Yeah. And this phase there, it's special. It's a special and it's always about patience and balance, and you have to work on yourself every time. Okay, how did I interacted? How did I responded to her behavior? I have to go back and, okay, you identify it and you act on it. So you have to, and for me, I always try to better myself. I always want to do something better and be better. Tomorrow, I know I'm not gonna be the same. I will have grown from this day, and I think it's a beautiful way of thinking. What do you think about it?
Yeah, the other thing is, I think also we have to be very realistic as well. I mean, there are times in life kind of goes around in circles. We can be be very happy, and then something happens, and then we go through kind of darker periods. I think it's really important to be open with our children about that also, and to be obviously we don't want to be in a state of depression for years and years, and then we really will affect our children badly. But we do have times where where we can be sad, or we can be suffering for a period of time. But I mean, I think it's important to show our children, perhaps not the under fives, but as they get a bit older and they start to understand, to be very honest about, this is how I'm feeling at the moment, and this is okay, and it's okay to feel sad for some time, or this is what I'm dealing with. And so they become more sort of emotionally intelligent. One thing that I did with my daughter is to is to say to her, if she was ever sort of angry, is to go into her room and take a baseball bat or something and hit the bed. Just smash the bed. Not smash the bed to pieces, but the mattress, but just to kind of let it all out, and just to allow her to express those feelings in a safe way. Because very often parents, I know for myself, all of my emotions were completely suppressed. As an adult, it took me a long time to be able to access my emotions anymore, because as a defense mechanism, we suppress because our emotions are not usually accepted by parents. They just want you to be good, just be good and be nice and be quiet and shut up and go in the corner. And so if we allow our children to express how they feel, then it's different. They're going to be different adults, and hopefully not have to kind of go through as much turmoil, instead of be able to deal with their emotions. Emotional intelligence, isn't it?
Yes, emotional intelligence. We could just do a podcast just on this one. It's incredible. There's so much things to say about this, and how we for me, I said I became stoic because of that. It's because I use my emotion as tools. I mean, my guts. I know I have like an intuition, and I'm using it. And I think it's our sixth sense, our intuition, and our emotion. When you are in control of your emotion, you become intuitive. Because I know when I have to cry, I'm crying. When I have to be angry, I'm getting angry. When I'm getting, and then I have to be sad, and my emotions are coming and they're going. I'm not repressing them anymore. That's the difference between before and now. It's like I accept it. It's, and if we have to be careful to not mix other people and emotions into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the emotion is really the doorway to healing. It's without being able to feel anything, then you won't be able to do anything. And as I said, there's a lot of people that find it very hard to reach their emotions.
Oh my God, yes.
But I mean, I don't know, is it Alexander Lowen? I think is it Lowen or Gruen? I can't remember. One of them. There was a video that I saw, and he had some people kind of bent over backwards and screaming and kicking their feet. And one of the ways that he says to kind of access that kind of somatic energy in the body, because the body, they say the body keeps the score. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And so whenever we have any sort of emotional trauma, it gets lodged in the body. It can turn into sickness, disease, tension, whatever. And so he says that, I mean, that there are various different techniques that he used. I think it'd be a complete study to really understand what it was. But he did a video where he had someone on a bed and kind of reaching out and I don't know, screaming or maybe just calling out for mummy, or calling out why did you do that, or whatever, and kicking their legs. And it's a way of expressing the feeling within. But before you get there, you have to try and find out within the body where that's lodged.
Yes.
And for me, it was always the stomach. It was always like the tension in the stomach. And I think a lot of people kind of get it there. And So once you know it, you can work with it, you can meditate with it, you can use Reiki on it, you can work with it with intention. There are plenty of things that you can do. And as I said, I think it's that physical thing of as I said with my daughter, and I get her just to get a bat and whack a mattress if she needs to. It's that thing of expressing and doing that helps to release the emotion from within.
You'll see that often people will have throat disease or heart disease. It's not because they're fat. It's because of all the repression they're having. When you have people with anxiety, it's always start with your heart. That's why they're mixing heart attack and anxiety together, because it's the heart center that is affected by it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have a lot of anxiety. I had anxiety up until about 2015, and one thing I used to have like occasional panic attacks. I used to have proper panic attacks, and not very often, because as I said, I designed myself a life which was very, very safe. So I made sure that I didn't have too many opportunities to have these panic attacks. But when I did this course in Carl Jung psychology and art therapy, I knew that was going to instigate some panic attack for me. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen, and I knew that I had to do it for that reason. And so when I went into the course, every time we went into the course and met up as a group, we'd always sit in a circle. And for me, sitting in a circle brought back memories of something that happened to me as a child. It was in a circle, and so I knew what my trigger was, and so very often I had panic attacks, and I knew that I had to sit through them. I had to allow them to come and sit through them and realize that I could actually live through them. They weren't going to kill me. And so since that happened, since especially the last one, which was really, really, really bad, and I was embarrassed. I didn't really want anyone to see me kind of getting upset and all the rest of it. But I had to allow myself to go through that process. And through that process, I don't have panic attacks anymore. Now, I don't know if that really happens for everyone, but for me, I knew that was the way that I was going to be able to overcome, and in this way with shadow work, you're overcoming your fears. That was a fear that I had for many, many years, and it stopped me from doing lots of things. So by confronting it, by allowing myself to go through it, I was able to come out the other side. So this is something also that I would say to anyone who has any kind of anxiety issues like that.
Would you agree that shadow work would be the solution for fear of self?
Fear of self. I don't know about fear. I've never really thought about fear of self. For me, I always think most people don't really know that there is a self. I don't know about fear of self. Shadow work. I don't know really. I don't know.
What I mean, fear of the self, is fear of being yourself.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's all about like reclaiming yourself, isn't it? Because really what you're doing is you're looking at your social and cultural conditioning, you're looking at, say, your parenting, you're looking at all the things that have affected you and made you who you are today. You're looking at your traumas, you're looking at whatever happened when you were a child, that maybe all these things are kind of directing your behavior and your life experiences. And then shadow work is really a coming home to yourself. It's about finding out who you really are, and it's actually a peeling away. We said about deconstruction. Yes. I remember at the very beginning, so within my course, we were learning a lot about Carl Jung, his work, listening to Carl Jung, and me making art as I was at the time, kind of led me on a kind of a very strange sort of journey. But it was a deconstruction. It was a peeling away. It felt like little parts of me. I was defragmented. I felt like there were many, many pieces of me, and I think I must have gone through some kind of depression at that time as well, because it was a dark time, and it was like a peeling away layers of lies. lies about myself, lies I told myself, lies other people had told me about me.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a deconstruction, most definitely. But yeah, ultimately you get back to who you are, who you really are, and it's that allowance of that kind of authentic self-expression,
Yes.
which you can't do. You can't do unless you go through all of that. I don't think you can.
I don't know why to do it without shadow work. So if people listen to it have another solution than shadow work for cleaning the temple and getting back to yourself, just put it on the comment there, because I
Please.
don't know it. I don't know
Please
anyway.
do. Yeah, I mean, there's someone on my group recently said that there is a quicker way, but they didn't share it, so I don't know what it is. I mean, I have also I did ayahuasca about a year and a half ago, and that was also a good sort of
Yes.
deconstruction. To be honest, I don't, I think actually what happens with ayahuasca, it's something that I've done once. I don't know. I might get a call again later to do it, but I don't think so. But some people, they do that many times, and I think that what they're doing is they're actually kind of they stop taking cocaine, and then they start taking ayahuasca instead, or bufo or something, and it's almost like a kind of a spiritualized way of taking drugs, but for me, I mean, I don't think it really did the cleansing. The real cleansing, the biggest thing for me has always been the shadow work, and that's the reason why I set up the group. I'll tell you one thing about the course that I did. We had an online group. We had an online group on the course, and we were all sharing on there. We were sharing on quotes, and we were kind of sharing our artwork and talking about dreams and all the rest of it. Well, when the course actually ended, it was a real loss for me, and that's part of the reason why I started this group, because I wanted to sort of recreate that, and I think I have done that with this group, and it has been very useful. So that's the reason why I set that up. So I've just gone off on a different tangent.
So yes, we can. I'm gonna have to stop there, and I just want you to plug your diary for people who want to, like, because it's an important thing. I think I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna read this. It's awesome. I'm eager to read it.
Thank you. So yeah, I've just created a new shadow work journal, and I've looked online. I mean, I've been working on something to do with shadow work for quite a long time. I've got lots of things kind of almost half baked. They're almost ready to go, but this is one of them, which is going to be it's a shadow work journal called Reflections and Confessions, and it's really for beginners to shadow work. It's really about the sort of it's about the deconstructive process. It's not the healing process at this stage. It's the first part, which means that it's about kind of really looking back at ourselves and finding out about our parenting and our schooling and our everything that's kind of happened to us to make us who we are today. That I have already started the second one. The second one is going to be anima animus in relationships, which is kind of going to be a more sort of intermediate, but really you need to do the first part first. The reason why I've done this is because I've had a lot of people ask me, and a lot of people need sort of they need guidance and help. I've had a lot of people ask me, how do I start? And I've done quite a few videos to say this is how you start, and you can do this on your own, and it doesn't have to cost you any money. But still, I find that people need that support with it. And really, when I look back and see, the most important part of my shadow work was when I was doing the course. And I had the group also. So within this journal, it's quite full on. It could take you 40 days, 40 weeks. It could take you 40 years. It's something that the questions are there, and you can keep on going back to them time and time again. And what you'll find with shadow work, and this is what I found with myself, is that the answers that you might give initially when you first do it, if you were to do it again, if you were to take my journal, do it now, and then take the journal and do it again in another year's time, or 2 years time, or 10 years time, the answers will be different. Your perceptions will be different because you would have already reflected back and looked back and seen things differently. You may have looked at your parents' background and understood it a bit better. And then perhaps what they did in certain situations wasn't all about you. So you start to see things in a different way. So within the journal, there are 40 shadow work prompts, and there's also guided meditation, and there's 4 shadow work exercises that you can do throughout your life. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be out tomorrow.
Yes, it's going to be awesome. I want to thank you again for being there, Caroline. I appreciate it. It has been awesome. I like this kind of exchanges because we're learning at the same time,
Absolutely, yeah. I'm always learning. I'm always learning from my groups, and I've learned today as well. So thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and see you soon, people. Thank you for being there, and we're gonna put the link for your diary under there. I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it so can people, if are interested, to buy it and encourage Caroline in this shadow work. Here we go. So Thanks. Take care, people. Bye.
Thanks for